DOJ, Office of Justice Programs, OJP, Bureau of Justice Assistance, BJA, seeks applications for funding under the John R. Justice, JRJ, grant program, which provides student-loan repayment assistance for local, state, and federal public defenders and local and state prosecutors who commit to extended service in those roles. This program furthers DOJ's mission by assisting in the recruitment and retention of qualified attorneys to enhance the efficacy of the criminal justice system. This solicitation incorporates guidance provided in the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide, which provides additional information for applicants to prepare and submit applications to OJP for funding. If this solicitation expressly modifies any provision in the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide, the applicant is to follow the guidelines in this solicitation as to that provision. This solicitation expressly modifies the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide by not incorporating the limitation on use of award funds for employee compensation. Waiver provisions in the Financial Information section of the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Eligible applicants, state governments. Other applicants are limited to state and U.S. territory government agencies designated by their governor, or the mayor of the District of Columbia, to administer the JRJ grant program. Page 1 of 22-0, BJA, 2023, 171,770. The states, territories, and the District of Columbia will make loan payments directly to the institutions holding loans on behalf of eligible beneficiaries. Contact information for assistance with the requirements of this solicitation. Contact the OJP Response Center at 800-851-3420, 301-240-6310, left parenthesis TDY for hearing impaired callers only, or grants@ncjrs.gov. Governor. The OJP Response Center hours of operation are 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, ET Monday, Friday, and 10 a.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. ET on the solicitation close date. Submission information registration. Before submitting an application, all applicants must register with the System for Award Management, SAM. You must renew and validate your registration every 12 months. If you do not renew your SAM registration, it will expire. An expired registration can delay or prevent application submission in grants.gov and JustGrants. Registration and renewal can take up to 10 business days to complete. Submission. Applications must be submitted to DOJ electronically through a two-step process via grants.gov and JustGrants. Step 1. The applicant must submit by the grants.gov deadline the required application for Federal Assistance Standard Form, SF 424, and a disclosure of lobbying activities, SFLLL, form when they register in grants.gov at https://www.grants.gov web grants register HTML. Submit the SF 424 and SFLLL as early as possible, but no later than 48 hours before the grants.gov deadline. If an applicant fails to submit in grants.gov, they will be unable to apply in JustGrants. For technical assistance with submitting the SF 424 and an SFLLL in grants.gov, contact the grants.gov customer support hotline at 800-518-4726, 606-545. 5035, grants.gov customer support, or support@grants.gov. The grants.gov support hotline operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, except on federal holidays. Step 2. The applicant must submit the full application, including attachments, in JustGrants at justgrantsus.gov by the JustGrants application deadline. For technical assistance with submitting the full application in JustGrants, contact the JustGrants service desk at 833-872-5175, or JustGrants support@us.gov. The JustGrants service desk operates 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., ET Monday, Friday, and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., ET on Saturday, Sunday, and federal holidays. OJP encourages applicants to review the How to Apply section in the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide and the JustGrants website for more information, resources, and training. Applicants should maintain all receipts and confirmations received from SAM.gov, grants.gov, JustGrants systems. Page 2 of 22-0, BJA, 2023, 171,770. Contents Overview 1 Contact Information 2 Program Description 5 Overview 5 Statutory Authority 5 Specific Information 5 Goals, Objectives, and Deliverables 5 Evidence. Based Program 6 Information regarding potential evaluation of programs and 6 activities. Federal Award Information. 6 Awards. Amounts and duration. 6 Availability of funds. 7 Type of award. 7 Financial management and system control. 7 Budget information. 7 Cost sharing or matching requirement. 8 Pre-agreement costs, also known as pre-award costs. 8 Prior approval, planning, and reporting of conference meeting. 8 Training costs. Costs associated with language assistance, if applicable. 8 Eligibility information. 8 Application and submission information. 9 Content of application submission and available surveys. 9 Information to complete the application for federal assistance. 9 SF 424. In grants.gov Standard applicant information. Just grants 424 and general agency. 9 Information. Proposal abstract. 9 Proposal narrative. 10 Goal, objective and deliverables. 11 Budget and associated documentation. 11 Budget worksheet and budget narrative. Attachment. 11 Indirect cost rate agreement, if applicable. 11 Financial management and system of internal controls. 11 Questionnaire, including applicant disclosure of high-risk status, disclosure of process related to executive compensation. Page 3 of 22.0, BJA, 2023, 171,770. 12. Additional application components. 12 Designated agency representative letter. 12 Disclosure and assurances. 12 Disclosure of lobbying activities. 12 DOJ certified standard assurances. 12 Applicant disclosure of duplication in cost items. 12 DOJ certifications regarding lobbying, debarment, suspension and 12 other responsibility matters, and drug-free workplace requirements, law enforcement and community policing. Applicant disclosure and justification, DOJ high-risk grantees, if 13 applicable. How to apply. 13 Submission dates and time. 14 Experiencing unforeseen technical issues preventing submission. 14 Of an application. Application review information. 15 Review process. 15 Federal Award Administration information. 16 Federal Award notices. 16 Administrative, national policy, and other legal requirements. 16 Information technology, IT, security clauses. 16 General information about post-federal award reporting. 17 Requirements. Federal awarding agency contact. 17 Other information. 17 Freedom of Information and Privacy Act. 5 U.S.C. 552 and 5 U.S.C. 17552. Provide feedback to OJP. Performance measures. Application checklist. Standard solicitation resources. 1717 1821. Page 4 of 22.0, BJA, 2023, 171,770. Program description overview. OJP is committed to advancing work that promotes civil rights and racial equity, increases access to justice, supports crime victims and individuals impacted by the justice system, strengthens community safety and protects the public from crime and evolving threats, and builds trust between law enforcement and the community. With this solicitation, BJA seeks to make funding available to state agencies designated by the governor to improve the retention of local, state, and federal public defenders and local and state prosecutors. Beneficiaries. States receiving funding administer statewide JRJ programs by soliciting applications from eligible beneficiaries at the state level. Beneficiaries selected must commit to an additional 3 years of qualifying service in exchange for partial loan repayment directly to the beneficiary's loan service provider. Statutory authority. Any awards under this solicitation will be made under the statutory authority provided by the Department of Justice Appropriations Act, 2023 Pub. L number 9351, Title 1, Sec 3001, codified at 34 U.S.C. 10671. Specific information. The purpose of the JRJ grant program is to encourage qualified individuals to enter and continue employment as local and state prosecutors and local, state, or federal public defenders. For each state and territory that is eligible to apply for funding under the JRJ grant program, BJA will make awards to agencies designated by the governor of those states or territories, or in the case of the District of Columbia, by the mayor, to administer the JRJ grant program within the state or territory. These designated agencies shall establish and maintain a statewide JRJ grant program consistent with the guidance contained in this document and the Act. Additional guidance is available at the JRJ web page. Goals, objectives, and deliverables. Goals. The goal is for all states and territories to be able to recruit and retain talented local, state, and federal public defenders and local and state prosecutors by setting up and maintaining a student loan repayment assistance program for attorneys with the most student loan financial burden who agreed to commit to extended employment in public interest law. Objectives page 5 of 22O, BJA, 2023, 171,770. An applicant should address all the objectives listed below in the goals, objectives, deliverables and timeline web-based form. The objective of the JRJ grant program is to offer an incentive to allow jurisdictions to attract and retain qualified local, state, and federal public defenders and local and state prosecutors who commit to extended employment in those roles and continue in that capacity for a minimum of 36 months. Deliverables signed JRJ beneficiary service agreements for the current fiscal year. See the JRJ service agreement forms on the JRJ web page. Performance reports. Recipients are required to submit annual performance reports and attach the JRJ verification form, found on the JRJ web page. Expenditure reports. Recipients are required to submit quarterly financial reports. The goals, objectives, and deliverables are directly related to the performance measures that show the completed work's results, as discussed in the application and submission information section. Evidence-based programs. OJP strongly encourages the use of data and evidence in policymaking and program development for criminal justice, juvenile justice, and crime victim services. For additional information and resources on evidence-based programs or practices, see the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Information regarding potential evaluation of programs and activities. OJP may conduct or support an evaluation of the programs and activities funded under this solicitation. For additional information, see the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide section entitled Information Regarding Potential Evaluation of Programs and Activities. Federal Award Information Solicitation Categories. This solicitation does not include solicitation categories, awards, amounts and durations. Anticipated number of awards 56. Anticipated maximum dollar amount of awards. Page 6 of 22O, BJA, 2023, 171,770. Based on formula. Allocation period of performance. Start date October 1, 2023. Anticipated total amount to be awarded under solicitation $4,458,457. Availability of funds. Period of performance. Duration, months. 24. The Bureau of Justice Statistics has calculated a minimum base allocation for each state, territory, and the District of Columbia. This minimum base allocation will then be supplemented by an amount proportional to that state or territory's share of the national population. BJA reserves the right to reallocate unrequested funding in any fiscal year for use by participating states and to reduce future awards by amounts unexpended from the prior year, all based upon such reasonable formulas as is necessary to extend accessibility to program funding. Agencies designated by the governor of a state or territory, as well as the mayor of the District of Columbia, to administer the JRJ funding are eligible for the state allocation determined by the process described above. This solicitation, and awards under this solicitation, are subject to the availability of appropriated funds and to any modifications or additional requirements that may be imposed by the agency or by law. In addition, nothing in this solicitation is intended to, and does not, create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. Type of award. BJA expects to make awards under this solicitation as grants. See the Administrative, National Policy, and Other Legal Requirements section of the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for a brief discussion of important statutes, regulations, and award conditions that apply to many, or in some cases, all, OJP grants. Financial management and system controls award recipients and subrecipients, including recipients or subrecipients that are pass-through entities must, as described in the Part 200 uniform requirements as set out at 2 CFR 200.303, comply with standards for financial and program management. See OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for additional information. Budget information. Page 7 of 22O, BJA, 2023, 171,770. Administrative costs. The use of BJA grant funds for administrative costs under this program is capped at no more than 10% of the total award. Beneficiary limitations. Award amounts to eligible beneficiaries are determined by the state administering agency within the submitted budget. Repayment benefits for each beneficiary cannot exceed $10,000 in a calendar year, with a total aggregate not to exceed $60,000. Eligible beneficiaries must agree to remain employed as prosecutors and defenders for at least 3 years after receiving this repayment benefit, which must be tracked by the state administering agency through reporting of the JRJ verification form and signed service agreements annually. JRJ verification form. The JRJ verification form from prior year awards must be submitted and reflect full expenditure of all prior year funds prior to funds being available under this award. Cost sharing or matching requirement. This solicitation does not require a match. Pre-agreement costs, also known as pre-award costs. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for information on pre-agreement costs, also known as pre-award costs. Prior approval, planning, and reporting of conference meeting training costs. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for information on prior approval, planning, and reporting of conference meeting training costs. Costs associated with language assistance, if applicable. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for information on costs associated with language assistance. Eligibility information. Eligible allocations under JRJ are posted annually on the JRJ web page. For the purposes of the JRJ program, the beneficiaries that are eligible can be found on the JRJ web page. Page 8 of 22O, BJA, 2023. 171,770. For information on cost sharing or matching requirements, see the Federal Award Information section. For the purposes of this solicitation, state means any state of the United States, the District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Guam, American Samoa, and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. All recipients and subrecipients, including any for-profit organization, must forego any profit or management fee. Application and submission information. Content of application submission and available surveys. See the Application Elements and Formatting Instructions section of the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for information on what happens to an application that does not contain all the specified elements or is non-responsive to the scope of the solicitation. Information to complete the application for federal assistance. SF 424. In grants.gov. The SF 424 must be submitted in grants.gov. It is a required standard form used as a cover sheet for submission of pre-applications, applications, and related information. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for additional information on completing the SF 424. In Section 8F of the SF 424, please include the name and contact information of the individual who will complete the application in Just Grants. Just Grants will use this information, email address, to assign the application to this user in Just Grants. Intergovernmental review. This solicitation funding opportunity is not subject to Executive Order 12,372. In completing the SF 424, an applicant is to answer question 19 by selecting Program is not covered by EO 12372. Standard applicant information, Just Grants 424 and General Agency information. The Standard Applicant Information section of the Just Grants application is pre-populated with the SF 424 data submitted in grants.gov. The applicant will need to review the Standard Applicant Information in Just Grants and make edits as needed. Within this section, the applicant will need to add zip codes for areas affected by the project, confirm their authorized organization representative, and verify and confirm the organization's unique entity identifier, legal name, and address. Proposal abstract. A proposal abstract, no more than 400 words summarizing the proposed project. Page 9 of 22O, BJA, 2023, 171,770, including its purpose, primary activities, expected outcomes, the service area, intended beneficiaries and subrecipients, if known, must be completed in the Just Grants web-based form. This abstract should be in paragraph form without bullets or tables, written in the third person, and exclude personally identifiable information. Abstracts will be made publicly available on the OJP and usaspending.gov websites if the project is awarded. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for an example of a proposal abstract. Proposal narrative. The proposal narrative should be submitted as an attachment in Just Grants. The attached document should be double-spaced. using a standard 12-point font, have no less than 1-inch margins, and should not exceed 15 numbered pages. The proposal narrative must include the following sections. A. Project design and implementation. Describe the evaluation process and criteria used to determine applicant eligibility. Propose a process and method for awarding additional JRJ benefits to individuals who have already completed the initial 3-year term of service of their original JRJ service agreement and would like to apply for additional benefits in exchange for additional terms of service. B. Capabilities and competencies. Applications must address a statutory compliance plan describing how the JRJ agency will comply with the statutory requirement that priority consideration be given to those with the least ability to repay their loans. Applicants may use their own discretion in identifying a methodology that best identifies a person's ability to repay their loans. The statutory compliance plan must also address how it will ensure fair allocation of repayment benefits among prosecutors and public defenders, and among employing entities. How much of the current award will be used to meet the statutory requirement found in 34 U.S.C. Section 10671, F. 2, which provides that priority be given to those individuals who have received repayment benefits in the prior fiscal year FY 2022, and b. who have completed fewer than 3 years of their initial JRJ service agreement. C. Plan for collecting the data required for this solicitation's performance measures. Propose methods for collecting the data for the performance measure evaluation. Provide a plan for verifying, on an annual basis, continued employment eligibility and satisfaction of the required service terms, as well as tracking and reporting the status of all beneficiaries and reporting said information to BJA. Page 10 of 22-0, BJA, 2023, 171,770. Note: an applicant is not required to submit performance data with the application. Rather, performance measure information is included as a notification that award recipients will be required to submit performance data as part of each award's reporting requirements. Some measures are presented as examples, while others are the exact measures that every recipient will be expected to address. OJP will require each award recipient to submit regular performance data that show the completed work's results. The performance data directly relate to the goals, objectives, and deliverables identified in the goals, objectives, and deliverables discussion. Applicants can visit OJP's performance measurement page at www.ojp.gov performance for an overview of performance measurement activities at OJP. A list of performance measure questions for this program can be found at here. BJA will require award recipients to submit performance measure data in an annual performance report in Just Grants. BJA will provide further guidance on the post-award submission process. After making awards, goal, objective and deliverables, the applicant will submit the program's goals, objectives, deliverables, and timelines in the Just Grants web-based form. The applicant will also enter the projected fiscal year and quarter that each objective and deliverable will be completed. Please refer to the application submission job aid for step-by-step directions. Goals. The applicant should outline the project's goals. Program objectives. The applicant should explain how the program will accomplish its goals. Objectives are specific, quantifiable statements of the project's desired results. They should be measurable and clearly linked to the goal. Deliverables. Project deliverables refer to outputs, tangible or intangible, that are submitted within the scope of a project. Budget and associated documentation. Budget worksheet and budget narrative. Attachment. The applicant will complete the budget worksheet attachment and submit it by uploading it as an attachment in Just Grants. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for additional information. Indirect cost rate agreement. If applicable, the applicant will upload their indirect cost rate agreement as an attachment in Just Grants. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for additional information. Page 11 of 22-0, BJA, 2023, 171,770. Financial Management and System of Internal Controls Questionnaire, including applicant disclosure of high-risk status. The applicant will download the questionnaire, complete it, and upload it as an attachment in Just Grants. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for additional information and the link to the questionnaire. Disclosure of process related to executive compensation. This solicitation expressly modifies the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide by not incorporating its disclosure of process related to executive compensation provisions. Applicants to this solicitation are not required to provide this disclosure. Additional application components: the applicant will attach the additional requested documentation in JustGrants. Designated agency representative letter: applicants must upload as an attachment in JustGrants a copy of a letter from the governor of the state, territory, or the mayor of the District of Columbia, or person expressly designated by the governor or mayor, designating an agency to administer JRJ funds. This letter must reflect the current governor and accurately represent the organization applying as the designated agency. Prior year letters are acceptable to upload if they reflect the current governor and the current designated agency. A new letter is only required when either the governor or the designated agency changes. Disclosure and assurances: the applicant will address the following disclosures and assurances. Disclosure of lobbying activities: complete and submit the SFLLL in grants.governor. Once the applicant submits in grants.gov, this information will prepend into JustGrants. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for additional information. DOJ Certified Standard Assurances for additional information. Applicant disclosure of duplication in cost items: OJP review and accept the DOJ Certified Standard Assurances in JustGrants. See the Grant Application Resource Guide. Complete the JustGrants web-based applicant disclosure of duplication in cost items form. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for additional information. Page 12 of 22O, BJA, 2023, 171,770, DOJ certifications regarding lobbying, debarment, suspension and other responsibility matters, and drug-free workplace requirements. Law enforcement and community policing. For additional information, applicant disclosure and justification. DOJ high-risk grantees, if applicable, submit the DOJ high-risk disclosure and justification as an attachment in JustGrants. A DOJ high-risk grantee is an award recipient that has received a DOJ high-risk designation based on a documented history of unsatisfactory performance, financial instability, management system or other internal control deficiencies, non-compliance with award terms and conditions on prior awards, or is otherwise not responsible. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for additional information. How to apply registration. Before submitting an application, all applicants must register with the System for Award Management, SAM. You must renew and validate your registration every 12 months. If you do not renew your SAM registration, it will expire. An expired registration can delay or prevent application submission in grants.gov and JustGrants. Registration and renewal can take up to 10 business days to complete. Submission. Applications must be submitted to DOJ electronically through a two-step process via grants.gov and JustGrants. Step 1. After registering with SAM, the applicant must submit the SF-424 and an SFLLL in grants.gov at https://www.grants.gov webgrants register HTML by the grants.gov deadline. Submit the SF-424 and SFLLL as early as possible, but no later than 48 hours before the grants.gov deadline. If an applicant fails to submit in grants.gov, they will be unable to apply in JustGrants. Step 2. The applicant must then submit the full application, including attachments, in JustGrants at justgrantsus.gov by the grants.gov deadline. Within 24 hours after receipt of confirmation emails from grants.gov, the individual in Section 8F of the SF-424 will receive an email from DIAMD no reply at us.gov with instructions on how to create a JustGrants account. Register the entity administrator and the application submitter with JustGrants as early as possible but no later than 48 to 72 hours before the JustGrants deadline. Once registered in JustGrants, the application submitter will receive an emailed link to complete the rest of the application in page 13 of 22O, BJA, 2023, 171,770 review and accept in JustGrants the DOJ certifications regarding lobbying, debarment, suspension and other responsibility matters, and drug-free workplace requirements, and law enforcement and community policing in JustGrants. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. JustGrants. The entity administrator also will need to log into JustGrants to review and invite the applicant's authorized representative before an application can be submitted. Submit the complete application package in JustGrants at least 24 to 48 hours prior to the JustGrants deadline. Some of the application components will be entered directly into JustGrants, and others will require uploading attached documents. Therefore, applicants will need to allow ample time before the Just Grants deadline to prepare each component. Applicants may save their progress in the system and revise the application as needed prior to hitting the Submit button at the end of the application in Just Grants. For additional information, see the How to Apply section in the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide and the DOJ Application Submission Checklist. Submission dates and time: the SF-424 and the SFLLL must be submitted in grants.gov by 8:59 p.m. ET on July 27, 2023. The full application must be submitted in Just Grants by 8:59 p.m. ET on August 1, 2023. OJP urges applicants to submit their grants.gov and Just Grants submissions prior to the due dates with sufficient time to correct any errors and resubmit by the submission deadlines if a rejection notification is received. To be considered timely, the full application must be submitted in Just Grants by the Just Grants application deadline. Failure to begin the SAM.gov, grants.gov, or Just Grants registration process in sufficient time, i.e., waiting until the date identified in this solicitation, is not an acceptable reason for late submission. Experiencing unforeseen technical issues preventing submission of an application, OJP will only consider a request to submit an application after the deadline when the applicant can document that a technical issue with the government system prevented application submission. If an applicant misses a deadline due to unforeseen technical issues with SAM.gov, grants.gov, or Just Grants, the applicant may request a waiver to submit an application after the deadline. However, the waiver request will not be considered unless it includes a tracking number generated when the applicant contacts the applicable service desks to report technical difficulties. Tracking numbers are generated automatically when an applicant emails the applicable service desks, and for this reason, applicants are encouraged to email the appropriate service desk, even if they also intend to call the service desk for phone support. Experiencing wait times for phone support does not relieve the applicant of the responsibility of getting a tracking number. An applicant experiencing technical difficulties must contact the associated service desk, page 14 of 220, BJA 2023, 171,770, indicated below to report the technical issue and receive a tracking number. SAM.gov. Contact the SAM Help Desk, Federal Service Desk, Monday, Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. ET at 866-606-8220. Grants.gov. Contact the Grants.gov customer support hotline, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, except on federal holidays, at 800-518-4726, 606-545-5035, or support@grants.gov. Just Grants. Contact the Just Grants service desk at justgrantsupport@usdodge.gov or 833-872-5175, Monday, Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., ET, and Saturday, Sunday, and federal holidays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., ET. If an applicant has technical issues with SAM.gov or grants.gov, the applicant must contact the OJP Response Center at grants@ncjrs.gov within 24 hours of the grants.gov deadline to request approval to submit after the deadline. If an applicant has technical issues with Just Grants that prevent application submission by the deadline, the applicant must contact the OJP Response Center at grants@ncjrs.gov within 24 hours of the Just Grants deadline to request approval to submit after the deadline. Waiver request sent to the OJP Response Center must describe the technical difficulties experienced, include a timeline of the applicant's submission efforts, e.g., date and time the error occurred, date and time of actions taken to resolve the issue and resubmit, and date and time support representatives responded. Include an attachment of the complete grant application and all the required documentation and materials. Include the applicant's unique entity identifier, UEI, and include any SAM.gov, grants.gov, and Just Grants service desk tracking numbers documenting the technical issue. OJP will review each waiver request and the required supporting documentation and notify the applicant whether the request for late submission has been approved or denied. An applicant who does not provide documentation of a technical issue or who does not submit a waiver request within the required time period will be denied. For more details on the waiver process, OJP encourages applicants to review the Experiencing Unforeseen Technical Issues section in the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Application Review Information Review Process. OJP reviews the application to make sure that the information presented is reasonable. Page 15 of 22.0, BJA, 2023, 171,770, understandable, measurable, achievable, and consistent with the solicitation. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for information on the application review process for this solicitation, pursuant to the Part 200 uniform requirements. Before award decisions are made, OJP also reviews information related to the degree of risk posed by the entity, among other things, to help assess whether an applicant with one or more prior federal awards has a satisfactory record with respect to performance, integrity, and business ethics. OJP checks whether the applicant entity is listed in SAM as excluded from receiving a federal award. In addition, if OJP anticipates that an award will exceed $250,000 in federal funds, OJP also must review and consider any information about the applicant that appears in the non-public segment of the Integrity and Performance System accessible through SAM. Currently, the Federal Awardee Performance and Integrity Information System, FAPIS. Important note on FAPIS: an applicant may review and comment on any information about its organization that currently appears in FAPIS and was entered by a federal awarding agency. OJP will consider such comments by the applicant, in addition to the other information in FAPIS, in its assessment of the risk posed by the applicant entity. Absent explicit statutory authorization or written delegation of authority to the contrary, all final award decisions will be made by the Assistant Attorney General, who may consider not only peer review ratings and BJA recommendations, but also other factors as indicated in this section. Federal Award Administration Information. Federal award notices. Generally, award notifications are made by the end of the current federal fiscal year, September 30th. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for information on award notifications and instructions, administrative, national policy, and other legal requirements if selected for funding. In addition to implementing the funded project consistent with the OJP-approved application, the recipient must comply with all award conditions and all applicable requirements of federal statutes and regulations, including applicable requirements referred to in the assurances and certifications executed in connection with award acceptance. For additional information on these legal requirements, see the Administrative, National Policy, and Other Legal Requirements section in the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Information Technology, IT, Security clauses. An application in response to this solicitation may require inclusion of information related. Page 16 of 22.0, BJA, 2023, 171,770, to Information Technology Security. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for more information. General information about post-federal award reporting requirements. In addition to the deliverables described in the program description section, all award recipients under this solicitation will be required to submit certain reports and data. Required reports. Award recipients typically must submit quarterly financial reports, annual performance reports, final financial and performance reports, and, if applicable, an annual audit report in accordance with the Part 200 uniform requirements or specific award conditions. Future awards and fund drawdowns may be withheld if reports are delinquent. In appropriate cases, OJP may require additional reports. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for additional information on specific post-award reporting requirements, including performance measure data. Federal Awarding Agency Contact, S, for OJP Contact, S, and contact information for grants.gov and just grants. See the solicitation cover page. Other information. Freedom of Information and Privacy Act, 5 U.S.C. 552 and 5 U.S.C. 552 See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for information on the Freedom of Information and Privacy Act, 5 U.S.C. 552 and 5 U.S.C. 552 Provide feedback to OJP. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for information on how to provide feedback to OJP. Performance measures. Full details of the performance measures can be found here. Page 17 of 22.0, BJA, 2023, 171,770. Application Checklist. BJA FY 2023. John R. Justice, JRJ. Formula Grant Program. This application checklist has been created as an aid in developing an application. For more information, Reference the OJP application submission steps in the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide and the DOJ Application Submission Checklist. Pre-application before registering in grants.gov. Acquire or renew your entity's System Award Management (SAM) registration information. See OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Register in grants.gov. Acquire an authorized organization representative (AOR) and a grants.gov username and password. See OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Acquire AOR confirmation from the e-business point of contact, EB's POC. See OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Find the funding opportunity. Search for the funding opportunity in grants.gov using the opportunity number, assistance listing number, or keyword S. Access the funding opportunity and application package. See Step 7 in the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Sign up for grants.gov email notifications. Optional. See OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Read important notice. Applying for grants in grants.gov. Read OJP policy and guidance on conference approval, planning, and reporting available at https://www.ojp.gov. Funding Financial Guidage/3 Post Award Requirements Number 6G3Y8. See OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Review the overview of post-award legal requirements. Review the overview of legal requirements generally applicable to OJP grants and cooperative agreements. FY 2022 awards in the OJP Funding Resource Center. Review scope requirement. The federal amount requested is within the allowable limit, S, based on the formula allocation. Review eligibility requirement. State governments page 18 of 22O, BJA, 2023. 171,770. Other applicants are limited to state and U.S. territory government agencies designated by their governor, or the mayor of the District of Columbia, to administer the JRJ grant program. The states, territories, and the District of Columbia will make loan payments directly to the institutions holding loans on behalf of eligible beneficiaries. Application Step 1. Submit the SF-424 and SFLLL in grants.gov. In Section 8F of the SF-424, include the name and contact information of the individual who will complete the application in Just Grants and the SF-LLL in grants.gov within 48 hours after the SF-424 and SFLLL submission in grants.gov. Receive 4 grants.gov email notifications. A submission receipt, a validation receipt, a grant or agency retrieval receipt, an agency tracking number assignment if no grants.gov receipt and validation email is received, or if error notifications are received. Contact grants.gov customer support hotline at 800-518-4726, 606-545-5035, grants.gov customer support, or support@grants.gov regarding technical difficulties. See OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Within 24 hours after receipt of confirmation emails from grants.gov, the individual in Section 8F of the SF-424 will receive an email from Just Grants with login instructions. Proceed to Application Step 2 and complete application in Just Grants. Application Step 2. Submit the following information in Just Grants application components. Standard applicant information, SF-424 information in grants.gov. Proposal Abstract Proposal Narrative page 19 of 22O, BJA, 2023, 171,770. Budget and associated documentation. Budget worksheet and narrative. Attachment Indirect Cost Rate Agreement. If applicable, see OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Financial Management and System of Internal Controls Questionnaire. See OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Additional application components. Designation Agency Representative Letter. Disclosures and Assurances. Disclosure of Lobbying Activities, SFLLL. See OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Applicant Disclosure of Duplication in Cost Items. See OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. DOJ Certified Standard Assurances. See OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. DOJ Certifications regarding lobbying, debarment, suspension and other responsibility matters, and drug-free workplace requirements, law enforcement and community policing. See OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Applicant Disclosure and Justification. DOJ High-Risk Grantees, if applicable. See OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. Review, certify and submit application in Just Grants. Any validation errors will immediately display on screen after submission. Correct validation errors, if necessary, and then return to the Certify and Submit screen to submit the application. Access the application submission validation errors quick reference guide for step-by-step instructions to resolve errors prior to submission. Once the application is submitted and validated, a confirmation message will appear at the top of the page. Users will also receive a notification in the bell alerts confirming submission. If no JustGrants application submission confirmation email or validation is received, or if error notification is received, page 20 of 22.0, BJA 2023 171,770. Contact the JustGrants service desk at 833-872-5175 or justgrantsupport@us.gov regarding technical difficulties. See the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide for additional information. JRJ Service Agreements and Verification Form. The following JRJ Service Agreement Forms and JRJ Verification Form are located on the JRJ web page. JRJ Beneficiary Service Agreement. First-time participant. This form should be used only in cases wherein a JRJ program applicant has been selected to participate for the first time. JRJ Beneficiary Service Agreement. Secondary term of service. This form should be used only in cases wherein a previously selected JRJ beneficiary has fulfilled the initial 3-year service obligation, has been selected again by the JRJ state administering agency to receive additional JRJ benefits, and has agreed to commit to an additional year of service obligation in exchange for those additional benefits. JRJ Beneficiary Service Agreement. Acknowledgement of benefit. This form should be used only in cases where a current JRJ beneficiary has not yet fulfilled the initial 3-year service obligation but remains eligible for JRJ benefits. Upon fulfilling the initial 3-year service obligation, the JRJ beneficiary may exit the program or, if selected to receive additional JRJ benefits, should execute the JRJ Beneficiary Service Agreement. Secondary term of service document. JRJ verification form. This form should be comprehensive and reflect each beneficiary awarded with all necessary information. This form is submitted annually to BJA. Standard Solicitation Resources. OJP Grant Application Resource Guide provides guidance to assist OJP grant applicants in preparing and submitting applications for OJP funding. DOJ Grants Financial Guide serves as the primary reference manual to assist award recipients in fulfilling their fiduciary responsibility to safeguard grant funds and to ensure funds are used for the purposes for which they were awarded. It compiles a variety of laws, rules and regulations that affect the financial and administrative management of DOJ awards. This guide serves as a starting point for all award recipients and subrecipients of DOJ grants and cooperative agreements in ensuring the effective day-to-day management of awards. Page 21 of 22.0, BJA, 2023, 171,770. JustGrants Resources website is an entryway into information about JustGrants and the grants management system itself. Through this portal, both award recipients and applicants can access training resource and user support options. Find frequently asked questions and sign up for the JustGrants Update e-newsletter. JustGrants application submission training page offers helpful information and resources on the application process. This training page includes e-learning videos, reference guides, checklists and other resources to help applicants complete an application. Virtual Q&A sessions are advertised here and provide opportunities for users to receive topic-specific training. Direct technical assistance and support on JustGrants system functionality. Page 22 of 22.0, BJA, 2023, 171,770.
Let's see. Opening Chrome. Let's share the screen one more time. Okay, look. It's a whole page and tells you how to do this. How do you apply? How to apply. And then it just gives you a step-by-step process. Can you imagine that? States just need to come to JustGrants and figure this shit out, because failure is just not an option in America anymore. And we're not standing for it. So what can I say? Like, subscribe, and share. That's what I'll say. Share above all else, just share. Y'all have a blessed day now. Gotta